I'm a little bit late to the party on this one, but in the last update for July 2025, the Tier 7 Premium Pan Asian Destroyer Northern Dragon received a really significant buff. I don't think I've covered this ship at all because when it was first released, I thought it was basically not worth playing. And the primary reason for that was that this thing is more or less a copy paste of the Akizuki, the Tier 7 Tech Tree IJN destroyer, a really good gunboat, by the way, and one of my more favorite destroyers in the game, I guess you could say. Northern Dragon is essentially the same thing, with the main difference being that it's got the trademark Pan Asian deep water torpedoes. But the other difference on first release for the Northern Dragon was in the high explosive shell penetration. You see, the Akizuki and the Northern Dragon both have 100 millimeter guns. And by the conventional HE penetration rules in this game, they would only pen 17 millimeters of armor. The HE pen is usually calculated as the caliber in gun in millimeter size divided by 6. And if you do that with 100 millimeter guns, well, then you get around 17 millimeters of armor. And that is significant because both of these things are at Tier 7. And at Tier 7, every single destroyer that you will encounter has at least 19 millimeter plating, and the same is true of even battleship superstructure. So it meant on first release that the Northern Dragon quite literally could pen nothing with its high explosive shells. But now, as you can see from the hits we're getting on the Pommern out there, it absolutely can pen things with its HE. Part of the buff it received was a buff to the HE shell penetration to the tune of 30 millimeters. Now it matches the Akizuki exactly. Both of them have 1/5 their caliber in HE penetration, so we get 30. Also, on top of that, the main battery HE shell damage was increased from 1500 to 1800. 1800 is a lot for a destroyer that has 8 main battery guns. Then the AP shells, those were buffed too, and they were already pretty good on the Northern Dragon. They now have a flatter shell arc. The penetration was increased by 58%, and the damage on the AP shells was increased from 2050 to 2200. So not only is the Northern Dragon very good at slinging HE in a way that it never was before, but it's also very good at slinging AP. Now, this particular battle on the Epicenter map, this is a rather unfortunate battle where the outcome is not going to be great. Things are developing all right. You can see we're out here on this flank, and we're sort of sticking to this position because moments ago, before we deployed that smoke screen, we got spotted by what is undoubtedly an enemy destroyer. There's nothing else on this flank because this Pommern has dipped behind an island, except for that destroyer. And we don't want to abandon it and let the guy run roughshod through the battleships behind us. Meanwhile, we've got 2 destroyer teammates in the center of the Epicenter, which is good, but they are also being contested by 2 enemy destroyers. It doesn't look like they have a lot of red ships around them that can actually help them sink our friendlies, should they be spotted. But things are going to go south very quickly. Once again, we get spotted by this enemy destroyer as the Pommern comes around the corner. Certainly not ideal, launching the deep water torpedoes his way and making use of the torpedo reload booster. Part of the reason that we keep getting spotted, and really I would argue the main reason we are going to end up having the result we do, is probably because I didn't spec into concealment on this destroyer. My commander is the Pan-Asian gunboat commander Zhen Bing, and I've got the mortar skill selected on his skill tree, which of course nerfs the concealment. Now I do have the concealment mod running. I don't think I have a concealment inspiration though. So with mortar and the concealment nerf, we've got a detectability of 5.9. The Oyster Goatland out there was certainly outspotting us. He goes down, though, to the friendly battleship after we chime in with some damage of our own. And that is going to come back to bite me later. Right after this match, I decided, well, we should probably take mortar off of this build. The HE and AP shell damage are both good enough without the extra 13% buff. And while that 13% buff mortar gives you to the damage is quite nice, it's not ideal if your concealment leads you to being sunk. And believe me, I'm no opponent of bad concealment on gunboat destroyers. I purposely do it on a number of them. Like, for example, the Khabarovsk. I've got that at a terrible detectability of 6.9 kilometers. And even the Kleber, which is perhaps less of a gunboat than it is a torpedo boat in this game, even that I've got at 6 kilometers even. Those are both bad detectabilities, of course, but the redeeming feature of both the Khabarovsk and the Kleber, if you're going to try to play the two of them as gunboats, or more as gunboats in the Kleber's case, is that both of them are very fast and very maneuverable in general. The Northern Dragon and the Akazuki, and all of these IJN gunboat types for that matter, Kitakazi included, although that one is a little bit better, they are basically bricks. They have terrible maneuverability characteristics. The Northern Dragon is slow. It's got a top speed of only 33 knots, which is bad by destroyer standards. And of course, if you're doing any kind of maneuvering, such as turning, you are going to bleed speed on the turn. So effectively, you'll be sailing around at 30, 31, maybe 32 knots if you're lucky. You can see it here if you look at the throttle. We're just coming out of a turn. We're going right back slightly into one, and we can't seem to get over 30 knots. So we're slow. We got a wide turning circle. We probably don't have the best rudder shift either. And all of that together with bad concealment means you're not really able to escape in certain situations where you might need to. So this battle is winding down. There's only 3 friendly ships left, of which I am one, the other being a battleship and the aircraft carrier, versus this Lightning, a cruiser, 2 battleships, and their CV. Lightning, thankfully, gets spotted in an area where we can actually take him out. He is being shot at by our friendly battleship, and I think that battleship is actually spotting him. I could almost smoke up in this scenario. I'm hesitating to do it because I'm not 100% sure that I'm not the one spotting him, but as you can see, if we just sit there rather stationary, the Lightning is a very good gunboat in its own right, and it's able to reduce our HP to basically about a third of what we had. However, thanks to our damage and the last remaining shot from the friendly battleship who ultimately goes down, the Lightning is sunk, and that gives us perhaps a slight chance to win this game. Airdrop torpedoes from the enemy CV coming into the smoke screen, not ideal, and of course we cannot sit in this smoke screen because there are still 2 remaining enemy battleships left alive, and I need to get vision of them. For all I know, they could be faster than me, and they could very easily enter this cap circle and get too close to my smoke screen to spot me, and then it's truly all over. We spot the enemy CV, and I would love to shoot at the thing, but I just can't because I don't know where those battleships are, and if I reveal myself, if they're lucky, 1 salvo is perhaps all it will take to send me back to port and end this game for good. We do take the center of the epicenter, but here's Tirpitz B pushing in. The other battleship, I think, is in this area as well. We're debating on, do we launch our torpedoes? We have 1 reload booster left, and of course we launch 4 torpedoes out of the launcher, so we can put a total of 8 in the water all at one time. But with these 3 capital ships left, the Flandre, the Tirpitz, and the aircraft carrier, we're going to have to be very choosy about where we put the torpedoes in order to guarantee hits. The only way we're winning this game is if we can somehow sink at least one of these guys and at the same time maintain control of the epicenter caps, which is going to be next to impossible. The Flandre is inside the center of the ring, and, well, he's going to be coming this way and essentially driving us out. We have no smoke screen left. We cannot disengage in that way, so if we get spotted, essentially we're doomed, particularly since both the Tirpitz B, which I think is what that is, it's either BA Tirpitz or Tirpitz B, and the Flandre, both of them could potentially be secondary spec'd battleships, especially the Flandre would be, and that's not going to be good if we're within 11 kilometers of that guy. His secondaries are going to rain down fire upon us, and we are not going to be able to avoid them. He does have a lot of, I think, 90 or even 100 millimeter secondaries, small ones that probably can't actually damage our hull. But he's also got a litany of 152 millimeter secondaries that absolutely can. Torpedoes were launched at the Shokaku because he's, sailing in a straight line on autopilot or whatever, and he's going at a very slow speed, so it's very easy to line up both salvos of torpedoes, hit him with two there, and then the second set, courtesy of the reload booster, is also going to make contact and send the Shokaku back to port. So even though the result in this battle is tragic, well, that's a nice consolation prize. The high caliber on what I think should be a dev strike. Maybe it doesn't count because the second set of torpedoes got there too slowly after the first, but there goes the Shokaku, and we do at least get the kill on the enemy CV, which is satisfying regardless of the outcome of the battle. But now, it's Flandre and it's Tirpitz. Maybe that is a regular Tirpitz, I don't know. Both of them are kind of heading in this direction, at least Flandre is. So here is where we make our crucial mistake. Again, I alluded to the fact earlier in this video that the Northern Dragon and the Akizuki-type destroyers really suck in terms of their maneuverability. They are slow, they have bad turning circles, and, well, there's islands on maps, right? So here's this island. Who put that there? Oh no, we're doomed. We don't have a smoke screen. We're stuck on the island now. Flandre is sailing directly into us. He's not a slow battleship by any stretch of the imagination. We try to get ourselves extricated from the island, but Flandre sails right into our 5.9 kilometer detectability. Secondaries opening up, main battery as well. Torpedo launch is just one last prayer, basically, and we're off in our aim. Flandre is maneuvering, and he is going to be able to avoid the torpedoes. As you can see, we're shooting AP at his broadside, the only time we really got to do it in this battle. We're going to have to make a sequel to this video showing off just how powerful the Northern Dragon's AP really is. It's nuts. I've gotten like 4 or 5K salvos on broadside battleships with light armor, and that's a strong possibility on something like Flandre that's coded in 32, but ultimately, because we're spotted with our terrible concealment, he's able to take us out, and we lose the battle. Had we built into concealment a little bit more, maybe we would have escaped that scenario. I don't know that that would have helped us win. But in any case, Northern Dragon is a total makeover. This was a destroyer that I don't think was worth playing at all prior to this buff. And now, it is a very good destroyer at tier 7. So I hope you enjoyed this battle. If so, give it a thumbs up. Consider subscribing if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.